Ready.
Um, yeah, sorry, I just got off work and on the way home now. Um,
Mm,
it's it every time I guess before um this new message is um I heard something recently from a person at church. I think it was like the Sunday message. I'm not sure, but
mm,
he said something that kind of clarified something for me because I think I had a question about the old gospel and the new gospel. Like, what is exactly the difference? Because I used to think they're kind of similar because I feel like I guess I didn't really know the old gospel that well, so it's hard for me to compare it. But he kind of said that the old gospel is um, also like it's about dying, meaning that things are, you're I guess you're lowering yourself, um, and like your old self is dying, but the difference is in the old gospel, there's at least, 1% of you um in there versus the new one, um, you're 0%. And that kind of resonated with me a lot because I didn't really understand what the difference was, honestly, between the two. I guess I'm just more familiar with this new one because it's more recent, but um, it just kind of became more clear to me about what this was. And also, um, there was like a movie that we were watching. It was like the chapter movie with like Moses, talking about Moses, his life, and all of it. And I guess it was like the whole Exodus. And we watched it, and I just had a question about that because I felt like Moses was the same figure as Jesus. So, like, how are they different? And like, why do we always mention Jesus and not Moses? Because Moses also died too, and he's also a man, just like Jesus. Why are they different? And that was also funny enough. The next morning, we got an answer without even asking the question. We were sent a voice recording, um, and it basically, I think, said that Moses saved his own people, and it was a relatively small population compared to the entire world, and
mm,
Jesus saved all of us. And
mm,
that really kind of struck home with me because if I look at Moses, yes, he's a man, and yes, he died, and God used him, but
mm,
I can't really relate to that because I guess I'm not an Israelite or, I'm not Jewish, so it's kind of hard to say that,
mm,
but Jesus died showing that we are all the same man and that he represented all of us.
mm,
Um, was very touching for me,
mm,
and I could see why this gospel is for everybody in that sense. And yeah, that made a lot of sense for me when I heard it, and we were very like surprised that we got the answer the very next morning after we just talked about it. So that was very interesting. But
mm,
yeah, just those kind of questions I had,
mm,
and just living, you know, every day, but every day just seems a lot more precious in its own way.
mm,
Um, and the more you know, the more you don't know, you realize. And, someone had said on YouTube, it wasn't related to this church or anything, but it was some gentleman was on YouTube and he said like one line that kind of made me think about the church more, and he said that um, true wisdom is when you don't know anything, when you realize you know nothing. And I was like, right, I absolutely don't know anything. Um, I can't even, predict what's going to happen the next second or the next minute. Um, I am totally God's creature, and um, the same man Jesus was, who couldn't come down from the cross, and I'm used by his purpose. And yeah, I mean, that whole, even though Moses isn't the same as Jesus, it kind of reminded me of this church message, and how things literally wasn't going his way every step of the way. And it was well, it was kind of relatable in a sense where I did not know any of this at all. I think that even that wasn't in my control of knowing. I had no idea I would be sitting here talking about this, or um, any of this, to be honest with you. And I think people, you know, some people, they grow up in churches and they hear things, and, you know, get to hear this message. But for me, there was absolutely no chance I was going to hear this message at all, let alone accept it, because I thought, you know, I was in control of my life, is what I was thinking. And yeah, I mean, this right now at this point in my life, I completely surrendered, and I do find myself bits and pieces of me that aren't surrendering, and this message comes in and puts me back in my place, and it starts all over again. And yeah, it's very touching to hear other people's stories and their testimonies, and it just means a lot to me to hear from other people and their experiences and how relatable they are. And yeah, so anyways, that's all I have today, but that's it. I'll
Mm.
leave it at that.
Amen.